All right, top 5 transfer portal QB commitments from the weekend. Some of these are big time, but these did happen, and it shows you where the motion's going. None of the big names happened yet. I'm curious if we'll see that by Wednesday or not for National Signing Day. If you're going to commit, I think some of these guys will take their time. But the Devin Leary's, Grayson McCalls, and like that of the world have not. DJ, the couple of these though, and part of that is do affect DJ a little bit. Number 5, Nick Evers to Wisconsin. This one is interesting to me in that this guy's a 4-star prospect. We talked about him earlier. He'll certainly, at least on the surface, have a shot to win the job this year, but this is more a long-term get for Luke Fickell in Wisconsin and not in the short term, I would think. But, this guy was a 4-star quarterback going to OU last year, so I don't know, what they feel about him after a year on campus at Oklahoma, but I'm sure they would at least like to have him for depth this coming season, and he's on his way to Madison, and we'll see how that works out for him. But I still think they're going to add at least, a veteran in that respect too.
I don't know, man. You can't have too many scholarships going to quarterback. Yeah. So, I'm curious. I mean, this isn't like some household name guy. He's a 4-star and all that, which is fine. He's a Florida commit at one point in time too. So plenty of recruiting people know about him. But in terms of what he's actually going to do and the timing of it, I don't know that anybody outside of Luke Fickell and his staff must know that as far as what their plans are. So yeah, it's possible they could still add a more veteran guy, but he's going to have, full handful of years to play, 4 years to play, and seems to have some great attributes. And I know there were some people in OU circles that were high on this guy, just never got close enough to seeing it actually, amount to anything in Norman, at least with Dylan Gabriel there. So this one's that, I think you can get excited about if you're a Wisconsin fan because of the potential, but in terms of comparing him to these other guys have actually played.
And look, he wouldn't have been on this list had Drew Pine done this 2 hours before.
Yeah.
So
we just don't know much about him. We just haven't seen him play compared to a lot of these other guys.
But he is, I think, of the guys in the portal, he's the highest ranked dude after a year. That's was last year's recruiting class now in the portal. Number 4, Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. I don't know if this is official yet, but he's in the portal. He's going to Colorado. The reason I'm curious about Shedeur Sanders is he's stepping into the Pac-12 right now where he'll be better than the quarterbacks that they had at Colorado. That's for sure. But assuming that he's going to go in and win games at Colorado like he did at Jackson State, or Deion's going to do that with that team, and they will get better players, that's for sure, than they have on the roster right now. The Pac-12, was a pretty darn good league this year when you have, especially if you look at the quarterbacks coming back next year in that league. The Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, probably Cam Rising, although when I did that top 5 the other day, a Utah fan said that they all thought he was going to leave, but let's just say for all intents and purposes, since he hadn't said anything, Cam Rising from the 2-time Pac-12 defending champs. Michael Penix Jr., he's coming back. Cam Ward's coming back. So Oregon State is probably going to bring in a transfer quarterback, but Goldbrinson looked pretty good in the bowl game the other day. So you've got a lot more competition on that level, and of course they know that. But Shedeur Sanders of Colorado is certainly an upgrade, and we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But that's a league that's now pretty deep at that position. I just ran through 7 teams, and we'll get to another one here in a second.
I watched a pretty good chunk of that game. Colorado's just been a mess, so I don't even know much about anybody on that roster. So commenting about a certain position would be me acting as if I knew. But, I saw him play. Obviously, they got beat this past weekend. Mm-hmm. You wonder if that's distraction or they played somebody better.
I'm pretty sure distraction was a huge part of why they got beat, and it was, extras and all of that. But, very disappointing loss for Jackson State and for Deion to close out like that. They were not out-talented by anybody they played this year. They were clearly the more talented team, and I think the distractions definitely played into things. Shedeur put up really good numbers, but again, the level of competition is suspect. Compared to what he's going to be facing in the Pac-12. And of all those quarterbacks you mentioned, he's a bottom half in the Pac-12 quarterback off top. But, could he result in, increased quarterback play at Colorado? He'll have to, because compared to what they had, I mean, it would be nearly impossible to not be better at quarterback than what they did this past year, or better in pretty much every area of football compared to what they did this last year. So, yeah, I mean, this was a no-brainer that was going to occur with Deion taking the job, and, he's already been handed the starting job, basically. So, good luck to him. I'm excited to see him play at this level and see how that translates.
Number 3, who we had in the show earlier, Haynes King, on his way to Georgia Tech. These next two are the guys who were really highly recruited people, their position in their recruiting class, and it's not gone the way that they wanted to at the places that they went. Hey, Haynes was on the show earlier. He's on his way to Georgia Tech. Certainly hope that works out for him and the Yellow Jackets. But this was a dude who was the most sought-after quarterback in one of the most sought-after football states in Haynes King, and it just didn't work out, in large part for him due to injuries. And then, of course, he has also intersected at a time at A&M of great tumult, we'll just call it that, in that there was so much up and down and all that I don't know if any of the 3 guys who played quarterback this year were really getting a fair shake at having the best around them or being in the best situation. And when he played it, he struggled. But so did everyone not named Devin Achane in that offense. So was it Haynes King more, or was it the scheme that has not changed through 3 different stops along the offensive coordinator / head coach's coaching tour? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely will see. I'm curious, after hearing Haynes, just how quickly he gets a hold of things, and, how quickly we see him out there for the Yellow Jackets. But it sounds like Brent Key, did a great job of establishing what they were going to look like and what they were going to be and what their message is to Haynes. And obviously having the interim time during the season played a role into his decision, and I'm sure into the decisions of some others as well. So that's a good start, that he's already kind of got some roots laid there. And, I don't know what the rest of their quarterback room looks like, but Haynes is just not a guy who lost talent overnight. I think it was as much the situation as anything else, and just it was bad all the way around. So, hopefully they get some guys to protect him and gain some confidence back. But he's a coach's son. I'm sure he's already put the A&M stuff behind him, and they got a good young man who's going to work hard, and he's got a good head on his shoulders and has some talent too. So, I'm very interested to see how this relationship progresses, and hopeful that it works out for both parties.
Number 2, Jeff Sims at Nebraska. This was a guy, again, highly recruited, and he had an up-and-down career at Georgia Tech. He's athletic. He can do a lot of things. He turned over the ball too much, but there was also not a really good team built around him for the last 3-4 years. So he steps into a Nebraska situation with Chubba Purdy and Casey Thompson, where there will be a quarterback competition, and we'll see what happens in the long run there. But I guess I like this one the most because I know the most about the coaching staff he's going into and what they're going to ask of him and what they're going to ask of the quarterbacks. So I do think that they can get an upgrade out of Jeff Sims. And again, it's just for a year. He is a placeholder for anywhere he goes. But for Nebraska, it's only going to be for a short time for Jeff Sims. But I do, and I mentioned this, I did a top 5 where I listed him early as, a guy, if he got in the right situation, could really, spring up the charts a little bit. And so I hope that's true for Jeff Sims in Nebraska, if not just for the guy sitting to my right here.
I'm curious about Casey Thompson's status.
Yeah.
I would have I'm not surprised they provided him some competition, but you bring in a guy like Jeff Sims, I don't think it's to sit on the bench. And I don't, again, know how much better he is unless you're just looking for something different out of your offense, which is entirely possible. And I know that, Matt Rule loves dual threat quarterbacks. And certainly with Jeff Sims, he can run around a little bit. He run for over 300 yards, I think, in every single year he's played so far. But his passing statistics are just, they're fine. And that's about as nice a way I can put it. 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this year, had a QBR of 43.3. Now, granted, he was hurt. He was dinged up, but year prior, 12-7 touchdown interception ratio. His freshman year, 13-13 touchdown to interception ratio, 54% completion percentage, 60% complete. Like last year was clearly his bet, 2 years ago was clearly his best year. Sophomore year was clearly his best year. And then injuries hampered him to some extent. And just obviously coaching change and just not a very good team overall. So, yeah, I mean, he's got some skills, but we've seen a hot and cold version. And you know, I wonder what version Nebraska's going to get. But there's no denying the talent level and the fact that he doesn't have to be Vince Young to win games there. He's just got to be serviceable and be smart. And so we'll see what they can do with him. But, yeah, I'm very curious of what this means for Casey Thompson.
Is Georgia Tech better at quarterback with Haynes King rather than Jeff Sims?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's it.
I don't think anybody's really winning any bragging rights contests right now. I mean, this all due respect to these guys. They're all way better at football than I'd ever be in my entire life. But, I mean, just being honest about it, what we saw from Haynes wasn't great. What we saw from Jeff Sims wasn't great. There were reasons why. Both were hurt. Both had coaching issues. Both had, disappointing seasons. So I don't think it's fair to just pinpoint those guys on this year and say, this is who they are, which is why I think fresh starts will be good for both. But I do think Haynes is more of the surefire starter, I would suppose, than Jeff Sims. But I don't know what Matt Rule has in mind. Maybe this is their guy, and this is who they're rolling with. That's why I keep saying I wonder what happens with Casey Thompson. This is very intriguing.
Yeah. Number 1, Collin Schlee, who is on his way to UCLA from Kent State. He is someone who he had two pretty good. He's got 2 years left. He's had a good run under what's his name? Sean Lewis. Is it Sean Lewis that went to Colorado? Sean Lewis that went to Colorado in that offense. And he is on his way to UCLA to play for Chip Kelly and at least be the placeholder until Dante Moore is ready. I don't know if he'll be but look, if he's doing well with Sean Lewis and he's doing okay at that level, this is the one who's most intriguing to me. Was he's jumping up a level when he's going from the group of 5 to a power 5 to a team that was really good this year and UCLA. And if Chip Kelly likes him, he's intriguing to me because Chip Kelly seems to know that position pretty well. And we'll see what happens, with what they're doing there. And I know they got the commit today, the big one, the flip, and he's, got to be ready to not have to start a true freshman right away. But this one makes a lot of sense when you see what's going on. But the big one here, to me, is not only that Bo Nix, stays at Oregon. Collin Schlee commits to UCLA, which means those are the two places I really saw DJU going. So where's DJU going to go now? Mm-hmm. Like, that even creates more intrigue to me on that because here's a guy who was the number 1 player in the country a few years ago, and even though he's not lived up to all that at Clemson, his bad's not been that bad compared to like any of the guys on this list. Again, no offense, DJU's bad is better than most. So he's going to go somewhere and hopefully flourish for him, but where that's going to be, now I even have a murkier picture of it because I thought he'd go back home to the West Coast, and it doesn't look like those opportunities are there right now.
Yeah, apparently not. And they've got other depth at quarterback, so there's going to be guys hitting the portal from UCLA's backups. Most definitely, you got 3 guys, and something's going to have to give there because then you add in, Moore coming in, and there's going to have like 7 quarterbacks on scholarship. That makes absolutely no sense. So this was a little bit curious, and not a name that probably many people expected to be the big splash for Chip Kelly, but he's got good numbers. I mean, Kent State was obviously a good team. Deion thought enough to hire Sean Lewis, as you mentioned. So somebody that is definitely not as well known as a lot of the other names in the portal because of where he played, but did a bang-up job where he was, had a successful run, and taking a step up and into the spotlight of Los Angeles. That'll be very fun to see how Chip Kelly maneuvers this quarterback room and clearly to see what Chip Kelly, more of what Chip Kelly obviously saw in Schlee's talents with so many options available. This is the route he went. So that says something when you're talking about Chip Kelly and quarterbacks.